Chapter 24, The Blood Templar's Gambit. Covenant maps spread across Vance's handmade table like battle plans drawn in desperation and tactical precision. Their edges weighted down with coffee mugs that had grown cold, while strategy consumed rational thought. Afternoon light slanted through windows that overlooked Subscriber District 3, casting geometric patterns across intelligence documents that pulsed with stolen secrets. The philodendron in the corner created living shadows that danced across diagrams showing fortress approaches and siege positions, its broad leaves rustling with each shift of recycled air through the building's ventilation system. The apartment's hardwood floors creaked softly as Elara moved around the table, studying territorial maps that revealed patterns she'd been too close to recognize. Her boots whispered against wood grain worn smooth by years of honest youth, each step stirring dust motes that caught light like suspended possibilities.
"He's creating isolation,"
she said, tracing Lord Malthus's territorial expansion with one finger that trembled slightly as recognition dawned.
"Not just tactical isolation. Emotional. Every raid targets people who've shown me kindness."
The paper felt substantial beneath her touch, authentic texture that grounded tactical analysis in materials Julian's surveillance couldn't monitor or corrupt. Around them, the scent of real wood mixed with lingering coffee and the green smell of growing things, creating atmosphere that felt charged with possibility despite the dangers they were contemplating.
Standard breaking protocol.
Vance's voice carried Deathrunner's certainty as he identified techniques used on desperate contestants whose vulnerabilities made them pliable to systematic manipulation. His fingers moved across psychological profiles with practiced recognition, cataloging patterns of predatory behavior refined through institutional application. The apartment's authentic atmosphere provided grounding contrast to digital manipulation they were analyzing, every surface speaking of time invested in creation rather than credits spent on manufactured convenience. Real air that tasted of determination rather than recycled desperation. Real plants that breathed life into tactical planning, anchored by materials that existed beyond virtual boundaries.
But there's a flaw in his systematic approach.
Vance continued, drawing connections between Julian's methods and predatory patterns he'd survived once before in environments designed to break resistance through resource attrition.
He expects rational actors operating within conventional parameters. People who preserve themselves through cost-benefit analysis.
Understanding crystallized in Elara's mind with liberating clarity that made her pulse quicken, with recognition of tactical opportunities she'd never considered.
"The Blood Templar class abilities."
Exactly.
His smile held tactical satisfaction that transformed analytical assessment into something warmer. Recognition that made her breath catch despite the seriousness of their strategic planning.
Sacrifice mechanics that rational thinking rejects as self-destructive madness. Perfect counter to Necromancer, who expects victims to value self-preservation above all authentic purpose.
She moved closer, drawn by gravitational pull that had only intensified since their real-world meeting, transformed virtual partnership into something grounded in physical reality. The scent of him reached her before conscious thought could process the implications. Leather and honest work mixed with soap that spoke of recent attention to cleanliness. Skin that carried warmth without artificial enhancement designed to trigger specific responses.
Malthus draws power from fear.
He explained, his proximity making her breath catch despite tactical focus that should have eliminated such distractions. His voice carried undertones that belonged to vocal cords shaped by real experience rather than programmed audio designed to maintain engagement metrics.
But he's never faced someone willing to sacrifice everything for authentic purpose.
The words carried weight that transcended gaming mechanics or virtual confrontation. This wasn't just about character abilities or digital battle systems. They were planning direct assault on someone whose power operated through institutional advantages that conventional resistance couldn't counter through normal tactical approaches. Around them, memory drives pulsed with electromagnetic signatures that made her skin tingle with static electricity. The intelligence they contained had required months of dangerous investigation to gather, secrets that could reshape understanding of enemy capabilities while revealing fundamental limitations in systematic predation.
What kind of sacrifice?
She asked, though part of her already understood the answer from his expression alone.
Complete commitment. No safety nets, no retreat options that preserve individual welfare above authentic purpose.
His eyes met hers with intensity that made her chest tight, with recognition of partnership that had evolved beyond tactical necessity.
Deathrunner. Mathematics applied to someone who's never encountered genuine resistance that operates outside institutional parameters.
Wind rattled the apartment's windows, carrying sounds of normal life from the district below. Children's laughter echoed from courtyards, while adults returned from work that provided purpose beyond systematic accumulation. Community sounds that spoke of connections, Julian's obsession threatened to destroy through systematic pressure designed to eliminate alternatives. Around them, tactical diagrams created patterns that spoke of systematic approach to dismantling institutional oppression through direct confrontation. But beneath the strategic analysis, something else was building. Recognition that their partnership had evolved beyond tactical necessity into connection that made such risks feel worthwhile rather than suicidal. Together, whatever the cost that authentic resistance might demand. The thought settled in her mind with quiet certainty. Partnership that transcended virtual boundaries to become something substantial enough to justify risking everything that mattered. Julian's psychological profile spread across handmade surfaces like medical examination of systematic pathology, each document revealing new depths of predatory behavior refined through institutional privilege. The afternoon light had shifted, casting longer shadows across intelligence that painted comprehensive picture of obsession wrapped in corporate resources. Elara studied psychological evaluations while processing implications that made her hands shake, with recognition of systematic stalking that extended far beyond normal harassment.
Control?
She said, pointing to evaluations that documented escalating possessive behavior beginning in childhood, when unlimited resources eliminated consequences for increasingly problematic actions.
Everything has to be managed, orchestrated, directed according to his predetermined vision. Spontaneity terrifies him because it represents variables he can't manipulate through systematic pressure.
Her voice carried professional recognition gained through months of interaction with clients, whose needs transcended normal human connection into territory of ownership fantasies, wrapped in corporate privilege. The paper felt warm beneath her fingertips, authentic texture that grounded analysis and materials that existed beyond digital manipulation. Vance studied the documents with analytical precision that made her grateful for his Deathrunner experience with institutional predation that operated through systematic advantages. Most survival training ignored completely. Where most people would see overwhelming evidence of superior resources and insurmountable tactical disadvantages, he saw exploitable patterns in predatory psychology.
Classic institutional predator.
He said, his assessment carrying weight of someone who'd survived systematic breaking protocols designed to eliminate resistance through resource attrition.
Power operates exclusively through systems designed to serve irrational actors who preserve themselves above authentic purpose. Direct confrontation eliminates those operational advantages.
She moved around the table, studying diagrams from different angles while processing tactical implications that suggested alternatives to conventional resistance approaches. Her movements stirred air that carried scents of coffee and growing things, authentic atmosphere that made strategic planning feel substantial rather than desperate. When her shoulder brushed against his, electricity raced through the contact despite layers of fabric that should have eliminated such sensitivity. Physical proximity that had felt natural during virtual interaction now carried additional weight. Recognition that real-world partnership created stakes beyond anything digital connection could encompass.
His terror of genuine rejection.
She continued, sharing intelligence gained through months of professional interaction that had revealed psychological vulnerabilities beneath corporate privilege.
When people refused to validate his ownership fantasies, his carefully constructed personas crumble into desperate attempts to regain control. He becomes reckless, predictable.
The memory of his outburst during their last session still made her skin crawl with recognition of mask slipping to reveal obsession that transcended normal client boundaries into territory of systematic stalking wrapped in premium contracts.
Leverageable weakness that systematic advantages can't protect.
Vance said, voice carrying growing confidence that transformed analytical assessment into tactical opportunity.
Force him into direct engagement, where institutional protections can't shield him from authentic emotional responses that resources can't control.
The apartment's living shadows shifted as afternoon light moved through windows, creating atmosphere that felt charged with possibility despite dangers they were contemplating. Real plants breathed life into air that tasted of determination rather than desperation. Authentic materials grounding their resistance in substance that virtual manipulation couldn't corrupt or eliminate.
There's something else,
she said quietly, voice emerging smaller as she processed implications of systematic psychological analysis.
his compulsive need for witnesses. Everything he does requires audience, validation from others who confirm his power and superiority. Isolation terrifies him more than direct confrontation.
Understanding passed between them like tactical recognition shared by experienced partners who'd learned to read micro-expressions and body language through months of synchronized collaboration. Julian's systematic advantages assumed battles fought within institutional frameworks where resource superiority determined outcomes through economic pressure and legal manipulation. But authentic confrontation that transcended those boundaries could eliminate operational benefits that made his predation effective against rational actors who operated within systems designed to serve corporate advantage.
So we give him direct engagement.
Vance said, his certainty carrying weight of tactical understanding that found opportunity where conventional analysis saw only overwhelming disadvantage.
Face-to-face confrontation. No institutional mediation. No systematic advantages that resources can provide.
In Covenant,
Her voice carried growing certainty that made breathing easier despite implications that should have triggered anxiety responses.
where his stolen identity becomes liability rather than asset. Where Blood Templar abilities can counter necromantic power through sacrifice mechanics that rational thinking can't anticipate or prepare countermeasures against.
His hand found hers across the tactical diagrams, fingers intertwining with contact that sent warmth racing through her palm, while anchoring her an authentic connection that no virtual relationship could provide despite technological sophistication. The calluses on his fingertips told stories of real work and honest effort, texture that belonged to someone who'd earned strength through actual struggle rather than purchased shortcuts. The pulse that hammered beneath his wrist carried authentic emotion rather than programmed responses designed to maintain engagement metrics. Physical anchor points that grounded tactical planning in reality that systematic manipulation couldn't corrupt through digital interference.
This ends one way or another,
He murmured, thumb tracing across her knuckles with touch that made her breathing shallow despite strategic focus that should have eliminated such distractions. Around them, memory drives pulsed with stolen secrets, while authentic materials provided grounding for decision that would determine whether systematic predation could triumph over genuine partnership, backed by nothing more substantial than authentic connection and willingness to sacrifice preservation for purpose. The apartment felt charged with implications of crossing boundaries from which no retreat would remain possible, commitment that transcended virtual safety nets to become something worth protecting, regardless of personal cost. Some things were worth the risk that authentic resistance demanded. The thought crystallized with liberating recognition that made her chest tight with emotions she'd forgotten were possible. Not just tactical assessment, but emotional truth. Their connection had become something worth protecting, regardless of systematic pressure designed to eliminate alternatives through institutional manipulation. Evening light filtered through windows that framed their final commitment, like natural spotlight on revolutionary decision that would reshape their understanding of what resistance meant in worlds designed to eliminate authentic choice. The apartment had grown quiet, except for the distant hum of District 3's evening routines, normal sounds that provided acoustic cover for conversations that could determine whether genuine partnership could triumph over unlimited resources backed by institutional privilege. But inside this authentic space, surrounded by living plants and handmade furniture, their planning felt substantial rather than virtual. Shadows lengthened across tactical diagrams that had become blueprint for direct confrontation with systematic predation. Each document weighted with implications that made the air itself seem charged with possibility, despite overwhelming odds that conventional analysis would consider insurmountable.
memory drives,
Vance said, gesturing toward intelligence that pulsed with electromagnetic signatures containing secrets that had required months of dangerous investigation to gather.
everything we need to document Julian's systematic stalking campaign for official channels. Insurance, if direct confrontation fails to achieve tactical objectives.
His voice carried tactical precision, but beneath analytical assessment she could hear something deeper. Recognition that they were crossing threshold from which retreat would become impossible. Committing to partnership that transcended virtual boundaries to become something worth risking everything to protect.
It won't fail.
Elara's voice carried certainty that surprised her with its strength, recognition that systematic advantages crumbled when exposed to authentic resistance that operated beyond institutional parameters.
Not if we commit completely to mathematics that rational thinking rejects as impossible.
The growing shadows created atmosphere of sanctuary, where authentic decisions could be made without technological interference, designed to channel responses toward predetermined outcomes. Around them, the scent of coffee, mixed with green smells from living plants, authentic materials that anchored their resistance in reality that digital manipulation couldn't corrupt. Their eyes met across tactical diagrams that documented comprehensive analysis of enemy capabilities and psychological vulnerabilities, intelligence that suggested direct confrontation could eliminate operational advantages that made systematic predation effective against rational opposition. The apartment's atmosphere felt charged with recognition that they were approaching point of no return, moment when theoretical resistance would transform into active rebellion against forces that transcended normal gaming mechanics to threaten everything that made existence meaningful.
You understand what this means?
He asked quietly, voice carrying weight of implications that extended far beyond virtual confrontation into territory of real-world consequences that couldn't be undone through character, restoration, or logout sequences. She moved closer, drawn by gravitational pull that had only intensified since their real-world meeting, transformed virtual partnership into something grounded in physical reality. The hardwood floor creaked softly beneath her feet, while dust motes danced in evening light that painted their commitment with natural illumination. When her free hand found his chest, feeling heartbeat that hammered with authentic emotion rather than programmed response designed to trigger specific reactions, the contact anchored her in reality that no virtual manipulation could corrupt through systematic pressure.
It means choosing authentic connection over institutional safety,
She said, voice carrying recognition of fundamental choice that couldn't be postponed indefinitely.
choosing partnership over preservation, purpose over individual welfare.
His arms circled her with protective intensity that created sanctuary where genuine decisions could flourish, without interference from systems designed to eliminate alternatives through artificial scarcity and manufactured crisis. The scent of him filled her awareness until breathing came easier, despite magnitude of risks they were accepting. Honest work and determined purpose mixed with warmth that belonged to someone who'd learned to find strength through sacrifice rather than preservation. Authentic connection rather than systematic manipulation, designed to serve institutional advantage above human flourishing.
Julian expects rational actors.
He murmured against her hair, breath-stirring silver strands that caught evening light like captured starfire.
People who calculate survival through resource management rather than authentic connection that transcends individual welfare.
Then we teach him different mathematics entirely?
The words carried weight of final commitment. Recognition that systematic institutional advantages crumbled when exposed to direct confrontation that operated beyond conventional boundaries, where resources determined outcomes through economic pressure and legal manipulation. Around them, tactical diagrams created patterns that spoke of approach transcending gaming mechanics to target psychological vulnerabilities that unlimited resources couldn't protect through institutional privilege or corporate advantage. When their lips met, the kiss tasted of determination rather than desperation. Authentic connection that had grown through trials into something worth protecting, regardless of personal cost that systematic resistance might demand. Not virtual intimacy manufactured through premium environments designed to trigger specific responses, but genuine partnership that existed beyond systems designed to monitor and control human interaction. The contact sent warmth racing through her awareness while grounding their commitment in physical reality that couldn't be corrupted through digital manipulation or eliminated through economic pressure designed to force submission.
This ends tomorrow.
He said when they broke apart, voice carrying quiet certainty that made the evening air seem charged with possibility despite overwhelming odds.
One way or another,
Her response emerged with recognition that systematic confrontation would determine whether authentic resistance could triumph over institutional predation backed by unlimited resources.
but it ends with us together, regardless of individual cost.
Outside, the city hummed with patterns of light and surveillance that served institutional interests, designed to eliminate exactly the kind of authentic rebellion they were planning through direct confrontation that bypassed conventional resistance approaches. But inside this authentic space, surrounded by living things, and committed to partnership that transcended virtual boundaries, where safety nets provided illusion of security without genuine protection, victory felt possible, rather than merely desperate. Julian had made one critical miscalculation, that his systematic preparation couldn't address through purchased advantages or institutional privilege. He'd never encountered opponents whose mathematics included variables beyond personal survival, who'd learned to find strength through sacrifice rather than preservation, authentic connection rather than systematic manipulation designed to eliminate alternatives. The point of no return had been crossed through conscious choice that transcended rational calculation. Tomorrow would determine whether genuine partnership could triumph over unlimited resources, backed by institutional systems designed to serve corporate advantage above human flourishing. But tonight, holding each other in space where authentic choices could still be made without technological interference, they felt ready for whatever mathematics their connection might demand from two people who discovered something worth protecting, regardless of systematic pressure. Different rules, different outcomes, different victory that served authentic purpose rather than institutional extraction, designed to eliminate human agency through manufactured dependency. The revolution would begin at dawn, carried forward by partnership that had transcended virtual boundaries to become something substantial enough to change mathematical certainties that rational thinking considered immutable. Chapter 25: The Fortress of Obsidian. The northern wastes stretched like an infected wound across Covenant's landscape, crystalline spires twisting toward violet skies that hurt to observe directly. Each footfall crunched through soil that pulsed with necromantic corruption, ground that felt soft and wrong beneath their boots. The earth itself seemed alive with malevolent hunger, sucking at their steps with persistence that spoke of systematic taint, designed to drain hope from those who dared approach Julian's stronghold. Elara pressed closer to Vance as they navigated hostile territory that defied natural law, her shoulder finding the solid warmth of his presence through leather and steel. The metallic tang of necromantic energy coated her tongue like copper pennies, while the air itself vibrated with harmonic disturbance that made her teeth ache with resonant frequency. But beneath the systematic corruption, she could still catch traces of him. Honest steel and leather, mixed with determination that belonged to someone who'd learned to find purpose beyond individual preservation. The familiar scent cut through necromantic pollution like clean water through poison, creating a pocket of authentic atmosphere in space designed to eliminate hope through manufactured despair.
Feels wrong.
She whispered, voice barely audible above the low hum that seemed to emanate from the corrupted ground itself.
Supposed to.
His hand found hers without looking, fingers intertwining with contact that sent familiar warmth racing through her palm, despite the surrounding wrongness.
Psychological warfare, deployed before physical confrontation begins.
Ahead, the Obsidian fortress loomed like architectural nightmare, born from unlimited resources and systematic obsession. Its walls drank light from the corrupted sky, surfaces that reflected nothing, while violet energy crackled along battlements designed to demonstrate absolute power rather than provide actual defense. The structure spoke to predatory psychology that valued intimidation over tactical efficiency. Every spire reached toward the malevolent heavens with desperate hunger, while carved facades displayed scenes of submission and dominance that made Elara's stomach clench with recognition of Julian's fantasies made manifest through purchased power. Wind moaned through the twisted spires with sound like souls in torment, artificial audio designed to trigger despair responses through psychological manipulation. But walking with Vance's steady presence anchoring her to authentic purpose, the theatrical effects felt hollow rather than overwhelming. Their synchronized abilities hummed beneath the surface, crimson and silver energies waiting to merge into something their enemy couldn't comprehend or counter. The ritual they'd performed in Blackridge had created connection that transcended individual capability, balanced exchange that might prove devastating against systematic advantages built on individual dominance.
Ready?
Vance asked, though his tone suggested tactical assessment rather than uncertainty about their chosen path.
Together.
Her voice carried growing confidence despite overwhelming display of enemy power that should have triggered submission responses.
Whatever the cost that authentic resistance demands.
Behind obsidian walls that pulsed with necromantic corruption, Julian's stolen identity prepared for confrontation. He believed he'd already won through systematic elimination of alternatives. But walking through terrain designed to break resistance while maintaining connection that grew stronger under pressure, Elara felt mathematics shifting toward possibilities their enemy hadn't calculated into his comprehensive planning. The fortress gates stood open like invitation to destruction, architectural confidence that no conventional force could threaten systematic predation, operating through unlimited resources and institutional privilege. Massive portals carved from single pieces of obsidian displayed intricate scenes of conquest that hurt to examine directly. But approaching those dark thresholds with Vance's steady breathing creating rhythm that matched her own pulse, she recognized that authentic partnership offered variables Julian's calculations had never included in his systematic preparation. Different rules, different mathematics, different outcome than institutional predation expected. The wound in Covenant's landscape whispered warnings about corporate dominance and systematic control, designed to eliminate human agency through manufactured dependency. But walking toward confrontation that would determine whether genuine connection could triumph over purchased power, their synchronized footsteps created percussion of approaching victory rather than inevitable defeat. The throne room stretched like cathedral, dedicated to systematic dominance, violet energy crackling along walls that served psychological warfare more than structural necessity. Crystal cages hung suspended throughout the vast space, each one pulsing with malevolent light that trapped familiar figures in states between existence and deletion. The crystalline barriers hummed with frequencies that made Elara's magical senses recoil, artificial harmonics designed to prevent normal logout functions while maintaining consciousness for maximum psychological impact. Her chest tightened as she recognized faces pressed against transparent walls. Ilak's weathered features twisted with frustration as he pounded silent fists against magical containment that offered no weakness to exploit. Mira's bright spirit dimmed to desperate fear. She mouthed words that couldn't penetrate her crystalline prison. Thomas's craftsman hands searched for structural flaws that didn't exist in barriers designed through unlimited resources. all of them suspended like grotesque trophies, digital hostages in Julian's campaign of systematic psychological warfare that turned compassion into weapon against those who dared to maintain authentic relationships. The chamber's acoustics amplified every sound into threatening echoes. Their footsteps rang against polished obsidian floors with metallic percussion that seemed to announce their presence to malevolent forces gathering in architectural shadows. But beneath artificial intimidation, Elara could feel something else. Structural resonance that spoke of purchased grandeur rather than authentic strength.
My radiant oracle.
Lord Malthus's voice carried theatrical authority that couldn't quite mask familiar cadences beneath necromantic enhancement. He descended from his obsidian throne with movements that felt rehearsed, each step calculated for maximum intimidation effect. The stolen avatar moved with supernatural grace that belonged to character progression earned through years of authentic struggle, but piloted by someone whose understanding of power remained fundamentally transactional, even filtered through illegal modifications and artificial enhancement. Julian's possessive terminology made her skin crawl with recognition. The careful phrasing that assumed ownership. The way he spoke, as if her presence validated his systematic campaign, rather than representing resistance to institutional predation.
You've finally come home.
He continued, violet eyes blazing with hunger that transcended virtual desire. Predatory obsession that had consumed professional relationship to become something far more dangerous than normal client boundary violations. When magical energy crackled around his form, she could see the artificial enhancements pulsing beneath necromantic armor. Purchased power that should ensure victory against mere players challenging systematic institutional dominance.
Let them go.
Vance's voice cut through theatrical pretense with Death Runner certainty that belonged to someone who'd survived systematic breaking protocols.
This confrontation is between you and us.
Between us,
Malthus laughed, sound carrying artificial enhancement that spoke of technological advantages rather than authentic magical power. The obsidian walls amplified his laughter into threatening symphony, while violet energy danced along carved surfaces that displayed scenes of conquest and submission. But beneath purchased grandeur, Elara noticed something that made her pulse quicken with tactical recognition.
there is no us, Blood Templar.
The possessive authority in his voice carried undertones she'd learned to recognize through months of professional performance.
There is only what belongs to me, and obstacles to be eliminated through systematic pressure.
His gesture encompassed the displayed hostages with proprietary satisfaction that made her stomach turn. Every connection she'd made, every friendship she'd allowed, all of it weaponized against her through someone who understood relationships only as power dynamics to be exploited. But even as he spoke, words designed to demonstrate overwhelming advantage, something in his posture suggested uncertainty beneath manufactured confidence. Julian expected the one-way relationships he understood from corporate hierarchy and premium performance contracts. His psychological profile suggested no experience with balanced partnership that enhanced rather than drained both participants.
You're right.
She said, stepping closer to Vance until their shoulders touched through layers of armor and fabric. The contact sent synchronized energy flowing between them, like electrical current finding perfect circuit, not draining power from one to enhance the other, but creating balanced exchange that amplified both their capabilities through authentic partnership that Julian's systematic approach couldn't analyze or counter.
Connections create vulnerabilities.
She continued, voice growing stronger as their magical matrices synchronized with harmony that transcended individual limitation.
But you've never encountered genuine connection.
Vance added, his voice carrying tactical certainty that made Julian's enhanced confidence seem artificial by comparison.
Only systematic exploitation, disguised as relationship through corporate power dynamics.
Malthus's expression shifted, predatory anticipation becoming uncertain as their synchronized energies created effects his hired AI advisors couldn't analyze through conventional parameters. The illegal modifications pulsing beneath his armor provided individual enhancement, but nothing in his systematic approach had prepared him for opponents whose strength came from balanced exchange rather than purchased advantages. Around them, the captured players began stirring in their crystal cages, hope replacing despair as they witnessed something Julian's systematic predation had never encountered. Genuine connection that grew stronger under pressure, rather than fragmenting under systematic assault, designed to eliminate alternatives through isolation.
Impossible.
He whispered, technological superiority wavering as authentic partnership demonstrated capabilities his comprehensive calculations hadn't included. The Obsidian throne cracked with sound like breaking bones, while violet energy flickered with instability that spoke of purchased power, proving inadequate against authentic connection. For the first time since his campaign began, Julian faced opponents whose mathematics operated through principles his institutional advantages couldn't control or eliminate. Time to change the equations entirely. The battle erupted with devastating fury that shattered Julian's carefully constructed confidence like glass against steel. Vance's Blood Templar abilities surged beyond safe parameters, crimson energy blazing with sacrifice-fueled power that should have drained him toward character deletion. His massive blade carved through necromantic defenses with precision enhanced by months of authentic partnership. Each strike carrying weight of someone willing to risk everything for purpose beyond individual preservation. But where Julian expected individual excellence constrained by resource limitations, something unprecedented occurred. Elara's silver magic flowed into their synchronized circuit, not to demand power, but to provide perfect balance that transformed limitation into amplification. Each sacrifice Vance made created opening that her tactical awareness could exploit with devastating precision. Each spell she cast enhanced rather than drained his capacity for further sacrifice, creating cascading effect that made their synchronized combat more powerful than individual excellence could achieve through conventional parameters. The chamber shook with impacts that sent cracks racing across obsidian walls, while crystalline cages swayed with harmonic resonance that spoke of systematic foundations beginning to crumble under assault from authentic partnership.
This isn't possible.
Malthus snarled, his technological advantages proving inadequate against balanced exchange that operated through principles his systematic approach had never encountered. His illegal modifications blazed with artificial enhancement while hired AI advisors whispered tactical suggestions through neural interfaces designed to provide overwhelming advantage over mere players. Premium tactical algorithms analyzing their movements, while sensory enhancements provided superhuman reaction times that should have rendered normal opposition helpless. But facing opponents whose strength came from genuine connection rather than individual dominance, his purchased power felt hollow rather than decisive. Every advantage he'd acquired through unlimited resources proved inadequate against synchronized abilities that created new possibilities through balanced exchange. Vance's draining attacks struck with precision, enhanced by Elara's magical awareness, each blow guided by understanding that transcended individual perspective to become shared consciousness that Julian's systematic psychology couldn't comprehend or counter. The stolen strength flowed not just to enhance his capabilities, but equally between both warriors through connection that multiplied rather than consumed power. Silver light blazed around Elara as she channeled energy through their synchronized matrix, her spells carrying weight of someone who'd learned to find strength through authentic partnership rather than individual excellence. Not performance designed to validate his obsession, but genuine empowerment that flowed in directions Julian's one-way understanding of relationships couldn't anticipate. The fortress shuddered as foundations built on systematic predation began cracking under assault from mathematics. Julian had never calculated into his comprehensive planning. His careful architecture designed to demonstrate absolute power through technological advantage proved inadequate against balanced exchange that created rather than consumed strength through genuine connection. Around them, crystal cages began developing stress fractures as systematic power proved insufficient against authentic partnership that drew energy from mutual enhancement. Rather than dominance dynamics, Julian's psychology demanded from every relationship.
You don't understand.
Julian's voice bled through Malthus's theatrical performance, desperation replacing confident possession, as his systematic advantages crumbled under synchronized assault. His movements became erratic, as AI advisors provided conflicting recommendations for countering tactics that transcended individual capability through balanced exchange. Premium modifications designed to ensure victory against rational opposition proved inadequate when facing opponents whose mathematics included variables beyond personal survival.
I made you.
He continued, violet energy flickering with instability that spoke of purchased power, failing under pressure from authentic resistance.
Your position, your opportunities, your entire existence serves my predetermined purpose.
Wrong mathematics.
Elara's voice carried growing confidence as their synchronized abilities proved devastating against overwhelming enemy advantages that had seemed insurmountable when faced individually. Her silver magic blazed brighter as Vance's sacrifice. Mechanics provided enhancement that individual effort couldn't achieve through conventional parameters. Not performance designed for his validation, but authentic empowerment that transcended the one-way relationships Julian's predatory psychology could comprehend through corporate hierarchy.
You never made anything.
She continued, channeling power through their balanced circuit while speaking truth that systematic manipulation couldn't eliminate through pressure or intimidation.
You only purchased access to what others created through authentic effort.
Around them, crystal cages cracked with sounds like breaking ice as systematic power proved inadequate against genuine connection that enhanced rather than exploited both participants. The captured players stirred with growing hope, recognition that they witnessed something their captor had never encountered through unlimited resources and institutional privilege. The Obsidian throne split down its center with sound like tearing metal, while Julian's systematic advantages crumbled against mathematics. He couldn't calculate or counter through purchased enhancement. His stolen identity, his illegal modifications, his technological superiority, all of it proving hollow when faced with authentic partnership that drew strength from balanced exchange rather than individual dominance. Violet energy dissipated like artificial enhancement exposed to authentic light, systematic corruption dissolving under assault from connection that created rather than consumed power through genuine partnership. The chamber's malevolent acoustics transformed into harmonics of liberation as crystal cages shattered with musical precision. Together, always together despite systematic pressure, designed to eliminate authentic connection through manufactured isolation. As the fortress began collapsing around them, their synchronized abilities created protective barrier that sheltered everyone. Julian's systematic predation had tried to control through fear and artificial dependency. Crimson and silver energies merged into shield that spoke of partnership, transcending individual limitation through balanced exchange. For the first time in months, mathematical certainty pointed toward victory, achieved through genuine connection rather than systematic submission to institutional advantages that had seemed overwhelming when faced alone but crumbled under assault from authentic collaboration. The Predator's carefully constructed world was disintegrating like purchased power exposed to authentic resistance. And rising from its wreckage, partnership that had proven stronger than unlimited resources deployed through systematic psychological warfare designed to eliminate human agency through manufactured dependency. The cage doors swung open, with sounds like freedom bells, releasing prisoners who'd witnessed authentic connection triumph over systematic predation through mathematics. Julian's comprehensive planning had never included in its calculations.